I'm just having my glass of water to get me ready.
Ciao bambini.
Good morning and welcome to our whole school assembly.
Hola!
Let's get some learning on.
Welcome to another day of home learning.
What time is it?
So we're going to work out the volume of this bingo.
And they're all over the floor.
I consist of 95% water.
We learn grammar through the coolest tool, music.
Super goed.
God arbeidet daily.
I just need to keep up. I'm so proud of you. Well done.
Good afternoon and a warm welcome to the Google for Education webinar, where we'll be going through hybrid learning. It's obviously a situation where we find ourselves in where nothing is normal at the moment and we're having to adapt. So we're hoping through some of the tools that we show you today that this will be able to support you with hybrid learning. But first of all, my name is Lawrence Tajani and I'm a certified trainer and innovator. I'm going to be joined by Colin in a moment, but I'll just give you an introduction about myself. I've been teaching or involved in education for nearly 11 years. I was a secondary school teacher, lead for computing, and dabbled in a bit of drama as well. Had no training there, but had to fill in where I could. But now I've moved on and I'm going around the country, or I used to be going around the country, delivering training and helping schools during this difficult time. And I'll leave Colin to introduce himself now. Please.
Good afternoon, Lawrence. I've made it. I'm jumping from session to session. So hello, everyone. It's delightful to be here. As Lawrence has introduced me, I'm Colin McCabe. I am, perhaps you can tell, perhaps you can't, but I am originally a native. I call sort of Northern Ireland home, definitely. I'm over in Scotland at the moment. I have been a teacher a long time, and I am now supporting at a local authority level in Scotland, looking after digital learning. And yes, don't shoot me. I'm originally primary trained, but again, a lot of what my role has now takes me right from the sort of 3 to 18. So hopefully I'll be able to interject and help Lawrence along the way with some ideas and keep you in check perhaps a little bit. What do you think?
I think you will, and don't be hard on yourself. You're fantastic. There's some amazing stuff that you can showcase to everyone as well. Also on this webinar with us in the chat, we have Anna, who's the Google for Education lead for UK and Ireland. And we've got the wonderful Sky, who's moderated this event and sent out links to you. And she'll be answering questions in the chat as well. So feel free to make sure you make the most of the chat and ask your questions away, because this webinar is about you and hopefully you taking a lot away from it. So on the agenda today, we're going to go into a brief introduction about hybrid learning and then hybrid learning activities that hopefully that you'll be able to take away. And then we're going to share some ideas as well, and then go through bits of closing too. So I feel like this has been said so many times. These are unprecedented times that we're in at the moment. And COVID-19 has been a catalyst for a range of EdTech being now used in the classroom, remotely, and even more day to day. And the bit I'm going to say that I'm a bit happy about in terms of this that's come out of this is that now that when I go in to do trainings, no one's rolling their eyes anymore about what IT curriculum are you going to bring in or what stuff that you're going to try and do. Everyone is buying into it now because they can see that actually there is real benefits, not just at this moment, but also beyond COVID as well. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same playing field here, and I want to go through, because we're going to be talking a lot about G Suite, but what is G Suite? So before I reveal some of the different applications that you might have interfaced with, is I want you to see how many you could potentially name in the chat. So just a number of icons that you are recognized with, and mention those in the chat for me, please. Give you a couple of minutes.
Still actually counting how many there is. So I like to think I know them all, Lawrence, but I just want to make sure 18, I think Sky confirmed there's 18 for us. Yeah, there's 18 there in total. Some of my best friends in there have become some more of those compliance ones that of late and some, some of that stuff, but it's fantastic to be able to showcase so many of them.
Definitely. And also what I'm just going to ask you to put in the chat is, which one do you use the most, or what's your favorite app? Oh, got 16 there, Thomas. Got 16, 14. Brilliant. Slides, docs, and sheets. Yep, they're fantastic. Drive. My favorite one personally is Forms. Yours, Colin?
Oh, it's got to be Slides. I think there's just so many things we can do with Slides. You know, a couple of days ago, we were making posters printed for the wall collaboratively all together. Boom, done. Just so many things you can do. Yeah, Slides is definitely my favorite. It's a controversial topic, though. We could probably bat this one back and forth, I think.
I think we could. So I'm just going to reveal the slide, the names. So you've got your Slides, doc, sheet, and that you were mentioning in the chat. And some of the ones that people might not be aware are probably admin, Vault, directory as well, and maybe groups. So what we're going to be focusing on, and just before I move on to that, you might have seen as I just click to the next slide, that some of the icons have gone through a rebrand. So we're in the moment of transitioning from Google for Education to Google Workspaces. So you will see over a period of time that these icons will change. You might have seen them already in your personal Gmail account or in your work, another job account as well. And just to highlight here, Google for Education, you actually get all these applications for free. If you're a business, you would have to pay for them. So we're going to be focusing more on today is classroom management, for what I like to say, my launch pad for everything. It's like kind of my go-to place, and the collaboration tools such as maybe Jamboard. And that's actually what we're going to go into next. I'm starting to really love Jamboard and realizing the power of it during this period. So that was G Suite. So hybrid learning. So hybrid learning is the combination of in-person and remote teaching. Most of us would have been using blended learning, using traditional means along with technology in class. But now we're thinking about actually, how could we mix both in-person and remote teaching to benefit yourself, but more importantly, your students, to make sure no student is left behind? So hopefully, like I said earlier, is that once we go through this presentation, some of the tools, you'll be able to take some of these away to support you on your journey.
And I think, Lawrence, it's really important to say that, you know, yeah, we've got a situation currently whereby this has really thrown the spotlight on the idea of working in this idea and having our learners, maybe we're focused with that on that idea of it being home, and they're at home and in school. But it'll equally, again, as we look to move things forward in education and look to really transform what we can do, there's no real reason why it has to be home. It just might be a different setting. And again, you know, I know from some of our discussions, we're looking about how we can provide a broader range of courses and choices to our young people, because they don't actually have to physically be in the building. And that's where I think there's some sort of real, you know, even when we get past this period, which I'm really hopeful that we will, I'm really positive about that, but there's still an absolute place for this hybrid approaches into our learning and teaching in the future.
Definitely, Colin. Another thing I'll just add to that is where you might have school refusers or someone who's been off ill for a long period of time due to a medical issue, they can still engage with the class as well. So before we go on to our first activity, just want you to take this webinar in, relax, chill out, and watch the webinar. We're going to have all the resources on a Google site for you that can be shared with you, and where you can go through it in your own pace. Equally, if you're someone who likes to take notes, please do take notes. I have to cater for all audiences on here. So what I would like you to do is, what are your main concerns about maintaining learning during the pandemic? And what I would like you to do is to share that in the chat. And I'm then going to go on and show you how we could introduce this, particularly maybe in a staff meeting, but also refer to examples of how you could use this in your classroom as well. So as they start to come in, so please do feel free to share them in the chat for us. That would be absolutely fantastic. But what we've got here is a Jamboard, which is essentially a digital whiteboard. And it's absolutely fantastic. I've used it so much over the period of teaching remotely and even delivering training as well. And it's probably one of the underused tools. Would you agree, Colin?
Absolutely. It's certainly the one that I get the most. Oh, I didn't know it could do that. Oh, whenever I'm speaking to people about it, it's such a great tool to have at our fingertips.
Brilliant. Thank you. So what we've got here is a sticky note, and you can add these onto your slide deck, but onto your Jamboard, but there's so many more things you can do with that. We've also got some sticky dots here, which we can use for voting a bit earlier on later on. So if I wanted to add a sticky note, I would just click onto the left-hand side and then click on a sticky note here. Just zoom out there. And then I can get some of the problems that people might encounter. So engagement of students is a big one that we have. How can we keep students engaged? So just put that in. And as you can see, I've just added that. I could close that and then bring that down. And at the same time, if I go up to the top right-hand corner, you will see there's a C there. And that stands for Colin. So Colin's actually collaborating with me on this Jamboard. So as you can see there's another post-it note that's just magically appeared, but we're collaborating. And this is really handy for brainstorming as well and coming up with ideas, even though we're not in the same room.
I'm laughing at the hand in on Classroom without anything attached. I can feel that one. That one strikes to the heart as a concern of what we've got with the students at home. I enjoyed that one.
Exactly there. So we'll just add a few more in as well as they're coming in from the chats. There's some fantastic ones coming in. Engagement and access to for students, Wi-Fi access for students. That's one that I think everyone is a bit concerned about as well.
Definitely.
So let's just add in Wi-Fi. And I've used this tool in the numerous ways of getting ideas from staff as well. And our colleague Ben absolutely loves a post-it note. Any bit of training he's got a post-it note there. And one of the advantages of this is that, again, you don't physically have to be in the same room. But equally, you could be in the same room and still use this tool. And that's one of the things I'm keen to also highlight as well. So if I was a math teacher, how I could use Jamboard would be to show kids to show their working. So I can actually give that support to them because I might not be in the same room as them. And I'm not sure how they're arriving at that endpoint for their equation or what steps they're going wrong on as well. I also used to love this for my plenary of 2 things that went well in the lesson today and 1 thing you need to improve on. So it's a nice handy tool, and you can use it on a range of ways as well.
At the end of a great session, Ben would always have his flip chart, and he would very carefully be taking it off the wall to make sure all the post-it notes stayed in the right line. So here we've got them all held digitally, guys. It makes it even easier. Superb.
Exactly. And then what you can do is we can say if we were doing this in a staff meeting, we could go through and then start to use these dots to vote of which one that we would tackle. So we could just and that allows us to actually focus in on a task or a problem, and probably sometimes stops the large discussion points and then having a meeting without not actually taking the actions as well. So one of the ones I would say, hand in classroom without anything attached, that, like Colin said, that's a big one. And the way I've been supporting schools with that is maybe having an FAQ document of how to do certain things in classroom for students as well. Okay, So Colin will be showing you Jamboard a bit more in Google Meet as well. So we're going to go into Classroom, and Colin's going to take over and show his screen.
That's the plan. Here we go, guys.
Brilliant.
So we're going to talk about Classroom a little bit, and again, as Lawrence introduced it as one of his favorite tool, and the sort of the home. I think you introduced it your favorite tool, Lawrence. Am I making that up? It's certainly the center point. It's the center point of so much of what we do, and it integrates so many things. And if we think back to before we had Classroom, managing digital, the digital workflow where we had documents that were being, created on individual devices, and we needed to get sight of that as teachers, and we needed to find ways to use USB pens and all of these antiquated technologies that we've now managed to, hopefully, fingers crossed, we've managed to eradicate, and we've got a much more streamlined interface for our students. So I'll show you Classroom, just in case you've not had a chance to have a look at this yet. I'm going to jump into the Classroom we've set up specifically for you guys here today to show what we're looking at. And to, what you're first greeted with is a stream. Now, the stream is empty because this is a classroom that's not yet came to life with student voice. But, once it is, we have this opportunity on our stream for I use the word social loosely. I don't necessarily mean that this becomes a chat room, but it is a place where we can feel connected, regardless if we're in class with our peers or if we are part of that team that might be, at this stage, self-isolating. We have the ability to chat and communicate. As a teacher, we can choose whether we want to have that as a feature that's turned on all of the time, or we might want to turn it off for safeguarding reasons. Those settings all exist in the admin section. The other tabs at the top, we have a grade book for whenever we look at different grading opportunities that we can do in Classroom. We can see all of the people that exist within our classroom, but the main other tool that we go to is the Classwork tab. And here you can see, well, you're seeing a little bit of behind the scenes here, because you may hopefully be able to tell, it might be coming across in the video, but the activities that you're seeing sitting here are all grayed out. They're all populated in as drafts. And this, I think, is fantastic as a teacher to be able to organize your day, organize your week, organize whatever you need to be able to do. You can have it all organized in advance before your students necessarily need to see it. This is a really good way of ensuring that they're only seeing the most relevant and up-to-date tasks, and making sure that this page stays exceptionally well organized for our students, that they are able to know exactly what's being expected of them. So something particularly whenever working remotely, just checking in with your students is super important. And we have the ability, such a simple idea, if we open this example, is that we have a Google form with just a few questions on it. If I pull into this, we're getting this information from Classroom. We can have a simple form where we've got that affirmation at the start to say, are you ready? I am ready to go. And how are you feeling? And just judging the status of your students, even when remotely, is so important. We can glean so much when they walk into our classroom that we maybe can't pick up if a student is working remotely. Those submitted responses all go back into the behind the scenes element that we can interrogate as a teacher. We can have a look at, we can see some really beautiful graphs that Google produces for us, or if we want, we can get that data out into a spreadsheet to be able to manipulate it with it. So that would be something I definitely think I would want to keep posted. So I need to go in and edit my draft, and I'm into the interface of Google Classroom. I've got a title and I've got a description. Those are the first two boxes you're likely to come across. And I really encourage, despite it saying description being optional, that particularly when we've got students that might be working remotely, that it's really not as optional as it suggests. It will allow you not to include one, but it's really important that we're communicating clearly exactly what we're asking our learners to do. So, I mean, the instructions here are so super simple. Then we're able to add a document to our Google Classroom as we see fit using the add member. We can get it from Google Drive that we've already created in. It might be a web link or a YouTube video, or it might be something on our computer that we're uploading. Likewise, we might just be going at this in sort of draft mode, and we might need to create one on the fly, and we can create a new document, a new Google document right from here. When we could choose to post our example, we have the ability to schedule this, so we can schedule it to post later, or as we've done previously, we've saved it as a draft, or we can just post that. That should now appear on our students' view because it's now live and ready to go. Got that one set. This is a topic called check-in that I've kept near the top, but perhaps you would want to drag it and reorganize it as you would see fit. It's so intuitive to be able to just, lift it up and place it where we're going. Let's focus on Monday now a little bit. And this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday option is a great way to be able to organize your work, but you have that flexibility. Some teachers that I work with choose to have today's work as a topic, and then they just move the items that for today into that one place. And some do it in this style. And really that is, you've got the flexibility in the platform to do it the way that suits you best. But let's have a look at this plastic recycling project task, because this is obviously a bit more meaty, shall we say, than our check-in option. So please watch the video and work through your document. Okay, we're going here. We've got various options ready to go. Just going to edit this to finally check to make sure it's all ready for what we've got. So what we have is we've got a video link to a source and information. We don't have to be the singular source of information in our classrooms. We know this. Our learners can learn from video and other sources. We're wanting this video to be watched, and then we're wanting our students to be able to complete the attached document. Now, what I really love in Google Classroom is that it can completely replace the photocopier. And I call this the photocopier mode, the make a copy for each student zone. We've created a singular template, and we are able to make this make a copy for every different student that's in our classroom without just a single click, does it? This was a suggestion that appeared in the chat when there was a conversation happening there about Jamboard templates and creating things. Exactly right. When you're posting it to Classroom, a Google Doc, Google Slides, Google Sheets, Google Jamboard, all of these documents, you can choose to make a copy for your students, and then they're getting a blank template ready to go. So we're going to do that for our students.
Just to jump in there, Colin,
of course you can.
One of the things I would definitely say is utilize videos where you can. And that could be even from YouTube. But later on, we'll show you how you could create a quick screen grab using Screencastify. It's been there really to support students, just in case they're unsure about stuff as well, for differentiation too.
Absolutely. And even if it's the same content, hearing the teacher's voice and saying it in your way that our students are used to is so much more powerful. Speaking of powerful, and my interesting segue into the rubric feature, which I think is incredibly powerful when we're wanting to make sure our students completely understand what's being asked of them. From here, we're able to set different criteria. I'm clicking this to expand to give you the example. We can choose the criteria, and we have complete flexibility over this in terms of if we want to use points, a points-based grading system, if we want to, exactly how descriptive we want to be for each of these different criterion that we're setting. And you can have different rows at your leisure. There's three here in this document, but quite easily you could have as many as was appropriate for this particular task. But not only is this visible to you as a teacher, but as we'll hopefully see in a minute, from when we look from the student view, that it appears on the student side as well. So I'm going to ask and see if we've got Lawrence popping over to his classroom. Now, what he's going to see in classwork is he's not going to see a great deal because it's still a draft. Just highlighting to you that he's only going to see the check-in at the moment because I've not yet clicked assign to that task. Lawrence, I have clicked assign, and you now have some work to do, my friend. Oh no, it's assigning, I should say. There we go. My internet connection. Done. Another refresh, and there we go. And it's Monday, it's available. Lawrence, you have muted your microphone and committed the cardinal sin of all web training conferences. Well done.
Thank you, Colin. I was just checking to see if you were there.
Attention.
From a student's point of view, I can now see that a document has been created for me. And what you've seen here is that the name, well, today I'm One Island, has been appended to the beginning of the document. But I can also see the rubrics. So I can look through this and look at, hey, I want to become a master and everything that I'm doing. So I can see clearly of what I would need to do to become a master on this topic here, or this task, should I say. And I think, again, this is just really supportive for students, particularly when they're getting feedback of saying, okay, I missed out on this bit. here's how I become a master, because it would highlight to me once Colin has marked my work for me. So I'm just going to come out of that now, and I'm just going to open up the assignment, and I'm going to start working through this assignment. So click here to get your copy of the data. So I'm just going to click on that, make a copy, and it's asking me to find the 3 highest countries with plastic waste. So I'm just going to go back into my Google Sheet, and you'll see in the bottom here, there's the Explore feature, and the Explore feature is so powerful. So without me doing some formulas, I can actually, oops, you zoom up there. My computer seems to have frozen. There we go. I'm back with you. I can click on Explore now, and you will see on the right-hand side, it's doing some basic analysis of my sheet. So I'm just going to click in here because I've copied this question over, and I'm just going to input this question in native English, and there you go. It's found it for me, the top 3 countries. So I've not had to do any formulas or any sorting or anything like that. I've just been able to input the information in there in native English, and I'm just going to C formula and drag that onto my sheet. And now I'm just going to copy this over. Oops. Copy that over and put that back in. And there we go. I've put that in there. I'm just going to jump on to task 2 now, where it says find a quote about the impact of plastics in our oceans. So I'm going to copy this question, and again, I'm just going to go to the Explore feature in the bottom right-hand corner, click on Explore, and enter that question. And you'll see on the right-hand side, my search has come up for me. I'm going to go for the first line. The second one, should I say. This will open up a new tab. And, oops. I'm just going to take this information here. I'm going to put it into my document. But because I've taken that from another website and I want to make sure I'm referencing it, obviously I would expect my students to spend a bit more time doing this. But what I can do is, if I just zoom in, this was the link that I got it from. And on the right-hand corner, I've got cite as a footnote. I can just click on cite as a footnote. So zoom out. And a 1 has appeared. And if I scroll down to the bottom, you can then see it's put the website I've got and when I accessed it as well in the bottom of each page. So that's a very handy tool. And it's another way of making sure our students are responsible digital citizens as well.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to carry on trying to work through this as well.
Yeah, I'm going to leave you to your work, Lawrence, a little bit, and we'll have a little bit of a chat about rubrics, or another chat, because there's some amazing comments coming in about it. It all spawned from a question about are rubrics easily created that Brian had posted in the chat, and yes, absolutely, super easy. I'll show them to you in just a moment. In fact, I'll do it now. We'll deviate, shall we, slightly, and we'll pretend we're creating a new one just for you, Brian. Although not just for you, because everyone will benefit from this too. So I'm going to create a blank assignment, and I am going to just give it a little second to populate, so we can have this. Just so I can get the assignment, the rubric overview option up for you. There we go. I can choose to reuse a rubric, which is really powerful. If I have it in a certain format in a Google Sheet as well, it can automatically bring it in. But creating a rubric, just to show you how simple and flexible our options are here, we can choose, when we're thinking about the first one there, is that's the row going across the top. So we can choose that to be our title and style that we've got, and you can fully explain what this area that you're marking on is. And then each of the different awards that you might give, point-based or not, can be highlighted here, and we can have the flexibility to add more as we need them. So super easy. And again, where we're already taking this and going, learning from each other. There's some great examples there about, and some chat happening about whether or not if the students can share and fill in this, perhaps a feature you've seen elsewhere, Claire, that you're able to access and have the students complete the rubric before they submitted. That sounds like a great feature. And one thing I wanted to highlight to you at this point is that in the corner of Google Classroom in the interface, there's always, and hopefully it's visible on screen, there's a little question mark. And this allows you to report an issue or request a feature. And I don't want to over exaggerate this, but we have members of the Google for Education team here in the chat listening to what you're saying, and this feedback is read. Every single piece is thought about and actioned. So that sounds like an amazing idea to include that students have the ability to fill in the rubric in advance of submitting that, so you have that level. The workaround was Orna posted was to have a Google Doc version that was attached to the assignment as well. So yeah, super powerful. Anyway, we're going to have a little look at how Lawrence has been getting on. You can see from my screen here that he's not submitted his work yet. He's not turned it in, perhaps, which is he's still working on it. But this is, I think, a really crucial feature, particularly if you're working on, or your students are working on long documents and long tasks, is that I don't have to wait until he does hand it in to be able to go and view what he's getting on. So I can view my assignment. I can see all of the students that are in my class. I know that today, Lawrence, you are 1 Ireland. Well done. And I'm now entering into the page showing me a bit more information about Lawrence's work. I have the example of I have the link, I should say, to the document that he has been working on, and I'm in there. I can see that this is the work that he's looking at, and I have the ability now. This is opening in Google Classroom and Google Docs in a sort of review version, as a teacher version, where I have some extra bars at the top and extra bars at the right-hand side. The bar at the top allows me to quickly float between left and right to be able to choose between the students in my class, so I don't have to keep going back to the classroom navigation to be able to review my entire class's amount of work. But I'm sticking with Lawrence for now. Down the right-hand side, I can see the files that he's working on. I can see the overall grade that we've chosen for some particular reason to grade him out of 4 today. Great. And I can see the different criteria of the rubric. They're all kind of squished down a little bit just to save space with just the heading, but I can expand each one of these if I do need to refresh my memory as a teacher as to which one I might be prepared to award him. And it's just as simple then as clicking on the one that you're wanting to use, or you can select, I know there's 5 here, I get a little overview to show which one I want him to pick, and that's generating his mark. Lastly, and quite possibly one of the most powerful one again, is the private comment feature, where students don't feel confident to raise their hand in class, or don't physically have that opportunity because they're working from home or for working from another location, perhaps, to be able to comment and communicate in private about this particular work is really powerful. And a lot of students that I've worked with feel more empowered to write in this section than they would have done if they were just raising their hand.
Okay. Just before you come off that, Colin, if you scroll to the top, what I think is also quite powerful is the originality report checker as well.
Absolutely.
So you would have noticed that I cited the source that I got earlier, but if I hadn't have done that, it would actually flag the passage. So it will do a quick search across the internet to see if there has been any direct copy and pasting or actually citing their sources. So it's gone through there and it said I've cited 2 passages, but also it's highlighted that there's a passage that I haven't. So if you just click on the Greenpeace one, if you scroll up,
there we are.
Yeah, you can see there that because it has not been cited, it's flagging that. So that's just another way of actually speaking to your students. But more importantly, students have access to this as well. It's a way for them to produce their best work. It's not just, oh, I've caught you out. It's a way of them actually being responsible digital citizens and actually citing their sources.
And it's absolutely, the way it's integrated for the students to view even before they submitted it. And a student can run the originality report 3 times per document. There's a question in the chat asking about if the originality feature is only available in the G Suite Enterprise for the enterprise version of G Suite. No, it's available in the free version with a certain limitation. Per each classroom, you have a limit of 5 different assignments that you can choose to turn originality reports on for. So that you have access to the feature for certain tasks, and that resets if you have a new class and you set up a new classroom. So it's 5 times per classroom is the current provision.
Yeah, brilliant. So I do believe we're going to move on to Meet, I think, Lawrence, and have a little bit of a chat about that, because I've not shown that integration yet inside Google Classroom. Some of you are maybe familiar with. Oh, hang on, I'll just better give you your mark back, Lawrence, first. Please.
3 out of 4. Well done.
Thank you. It's made my day.
Okay. So I'm going to jump back now, jump back to my Google Classroom. And you can see shown here on the teacher view on the stream is this option of a Meet link. And it says generate Meet link. This won't be showing for Lawrence or any of my students at this point because I've not chosen to do that. And I think it's really important that we as teachers have that control as to whether or not it's going to appear whether it's going to appear for our students. A lot of the local authorities and districts that I've been working with talk about ensuring that they turn this on and off at appropriate times so that it's only really visible and ready to go for our students. What I've done there is I've clicked into the class settings, which is in the settings cog in the top right-hand corner, around where my mouse is circling. But believe this looks like a fidget spinner. So as well as this, I'm just going to stick with settings cog. Maybe I'm just a bit old school. And some of the settings in here, I mentioned to you briefly before that you had the ability in the stream to restrict whether students could post on, if they could comment on different posts that were there, or whether it was just for the teachers. But the one that we're really looking at just now is the Meet link. So this is generating a Meet link that's only available inside the classroom and inside for my students. And I click generate that one time, and it's generated me a link just for our class. That link is by default, the toggle down here has turned to on. So now on Lawrence's view or on any student's view, they would be seeing that link. And typically I would maybe do this about 10 minutes before the scheduled start of any class that I was hoping to run inside Meet, just when I could sort of come in and help to get people settled before the time that would start. And then I would come in here again at the end and switch it off. And having the flexibility to do that is super, super useful, as Thomas has pointed out in the chat. So there's the link, it's at the top, and we can click into it. And this is the bit where I'm thankfully, or at least I'm pretty hopeful. I always have my fingers a little bit crossed that I'm not going to break the internet. And there you go, I'm appearing twice. It's like Inception. I've got 4 versions of me on the screen just now. But no one else is here just now. I'm going to join into our meeting. And I'm going to immediately attempt to mute my microphone here so it doesn't go around areas. And it's been super easy for Lawrence to join us too, of course, because the link was there on his option on the front of his stream page. So there's a few things I wanted to highlight to you inside Google Meet and how some tweaks have been made to really help and engage students in our lessons. There's some of these that are safeguarding features and some of those that are really going to help collaboration when you're working remotely. First of all, if I open the chat window here, I have the toggle if I want to allow my students to be able to chat and to be able to message in and back. And again, there's times when you would definitely want this on and times when you might want to think about switching this off. And it's just nice to have that flexibility, I find. I can also see from the People's tab that Lawrence has done a great job as a great student, and he's muted his microphone at the moment. I would be able to click on his name and I would be able to unmute him. Lawrence, could you just unmute for a second for me, just so I have that power over you to click mute. We know this one, don't we, in terms of the background noise that exists there that might be coming in. I'm not sure. There we go. Any background noise or just to be able to really focus on one particular person who's speaking at any one time and coming off mute, that sort of good etiquette and practice. And again, if there is one person speaking, we have the pin option so that we can choose to pin up our speaker. A few other host controls that we might want to consider are the ability about sharing your screen. So if it might be absolutely appropriate for us as the teacher to share our screen and we're in the middle of our input in our lesson, we want to maybe turn that off. We might be, you may on a small occasion wish to toggle that back at your complete discretion. So we have a few of those safeguarding features in. One feature that's appearing, you can see is already turned on actually for my camera, is that you can see that I've got a blurred background. This is relatively new coming in, and under the three dots down at the bottom beside present, we have the ability to change the background, and we can choose a couple of different variants of blurring, which this one's maybe a bit more of a natural sort of SLR type blur that might appear from a sort of a digital camera, or a more significant blur if we're wanting to ensure the privacy of what's behind us. And of course, the lots of fun that can be had with different backgrounds, and it's all machine learning that's be able to sort of cut me out of the frame and plot me in here. So there's lots of options there. Some uses with students, some teachers I work with like to use that as a bit of a reward, so that you can kind of choose when they can get that, they get a particular background and various different things. And again, the question coming that Claire is asking is everything you're seeing here, Claire, available in the G Suite for Education, the full version that we have. One last little thing, or two last things in Meet I wanted to show you. The first one is about the layout, to make sure that you're able to see the layout in the way that you want to do it. Google will automatically choose in auto mode what they think is best for the type of meeting that you're in. Personally, I like to take a bit of control of that, and certainly when I'm working with a larger group of students, I want to specifically choose the tiled layout, and I can bump that all the way up to 49 on screen at once if I choose to do this. So we want to click close on that one, and that's a few of the features about organizing Meet. And I mentioned that where we can also get some collaboration benefits. Lawrence and I have showed you an example of we've showed you an example of Jamboard already, but I wanted to draw to your attention again from the three dots menu that we have the ability to open a whiteboard and open a Jam straight from the middle of our meeting. And this is a link that's then shared directly with all of the participants in our Meet, and we can all jump straight in. And yet we've showed you post-it notes and various options. We can have that. It's opening in a different window for me, but we've showed you post-it note, but equally it is a whiteboard. So we've got the ability to doodle, draw. Sometimes you just need to break out into a whiteboard to be able to explain your thinking a little bit more, I feel, and to be able to look at that. So that's a little bit of the Meet features that are there. There's a few questions coming in the chat about things like breakout rooms. Breakout rooms are a feature that are coming to the Enterprise edition of G Suite for Education. That's specifically. There's a question that I don't know the answer to directly, Lawrence, in terms of a specific answer. I could give a vague one in terms of the blurring of the background for coming on Chromebooks. My feeling is, correct me if I'm wrong, Lawrence, here, that it is rolling out across the different G Suite tenancies, and it might not just be there yet. Is that fair to say?
That is correct. Yeah, it is slowly rolling out, and it will appear there for you. So yes, it will be there in the end. And then we've got Meet Attend extension for Google for Education edition. There is an add-on, but also there is the one that with Enterprise Edition where you will be able to have that integrated as well.
Absolutely. So we've looked at a few of these things, and we've looked at how we can use Google Classroom and how we can see that can be used by both student and teachers to great effect. There's obviously other players here in terms of who are involved in the education system, and it's our parents, and we have an increasing duty, perhaps I feel, that we are wanting to communicate with our parental body and have a closer connection to the parents and family members of our pupils that we're teaching. No more so that whenever our teachers are feeling, our parents are feeling like teachers at home a little bit more. So there's a various tools that we can use to communicate. And Lawrence, I wondered if you wanted to give a little bit of a demo of Google Sites, just to show exactly what we could create if we wanted to create a site for some of our parents.
Exactly. So I'm just going to get the Google site that actually I'm going to be sharing with you a bit later on. And we've got this up on screen now, has it? Look up screen. Brilliant. So what we've got here is a Google site that has been created. And this is a really great way to actually communicate with parents in terms of putting your resources on there as well. And actually this worked pretty well for school that I worked with at the beginning of the academic year. And they actually created a Google site for open evening in a way for parents to actually get a feel for the school as well. So that's a fantastic tool to use as well. I'm just gonna share a different screen here now. And there we go. So there we go. So yeah, this is the hybrid learning site that will be shared with you a bit later on. But as I was just going back to my original point, was that it was fantastic to use for open evening and also for year 6 induction as well, because they couldn't physically come into the school actually had created videos and tours of different classrooms, and it was brilliant. And some of the kids were involved in making some of those videos who were still attending school. And just to go back to a question that I saw a bit earlier on, it was, what is an FAQ? So we got frequent answered questions, and what they had put there is actually some troubleshooting tips for parents in case students weren't able to upload their documents to Google Classroom, or just general guides on how they could best support their students as well. And this is all completely free in your suite tools as well. So definitely have a play about with this. And it's very intuitive. It's probably the quickest way to create a website without knowing any coding skills too. Colin, do you want to talk about the engagement bit on parents' engagement?
Absolutely. I mean, we want to be able to make sure that, what we're creating and what we're sharing in the 21st century, I guess, is ultimately the very best that it can be, and able to be read and is visible to our students. And I wanted to draw to your attention a tool that we have access to as teachers called Canva. Some of you may have heard it, and may have been using the free version. Lawrence is pulling up some of his designs here that he's worked on. This is a tool that's available to teachers for free. The paid version as well. We're getting the premium version as teachers. You do have to confirm your teaching status, but what it has is a real wide range of templates that are available. And again, all of these are created and edited in the web browser, meaning they can be edited and worked on a Chromebook, on any other machine as well. And they're really eye-catching and really engaging and well laid out. And this is an example, obviously, talking about getting ready for hybrid learning, but there are templates there. There are classroom templates even for lesson plans, if you were so minded to make them in that way, for different sites and different sort of invitations and documents and all sorts of different ways that we can communicate as teachers I don't want to say better, because it makes it sound as if we're not doing a great job just now, but we're leveraging some of the latest things that we can work on. So absolutely.
And one thing about this is really great. It can integrate with Google Classroom as well. So you can create some of your designs and simply actually import that into your classroom as well using the tool down here. So again, please do sign up for this. It's free. And one of the things is I'm not the most creative person, but with the help of these tools, the kids actually love the graphics that I do create. And I'm just like going, yeah, I created that. So that's a fantastic bit there. So yeah, go on. Sorry, Colin.
I was just going to say that there's the chat's lit up with more conversations about about Google Meet and being able to record, and we've got the answer there that for most of lockdown, that has been existing, and it has been a facility that's available under the 3 dots that you could record your meeting. I would say that you have to obviously check within your school's guidelines and your wider district guidelines in terms of the recording of meets is something that you can do. But yeah, that facility is still there in its premium feature available now, and it's going to be changed in the near future to becoming where you can have a recording that you can capture, but it is sort of time limited. Okay. So, and time limited, I mean, in terms of the duration that it stays alive. So I think it's 90 days, perhaps, or no, 30. Sorry, I'm going to correct that in terms of the answer. So it's available for the next 30 days after that. So hopefully that answers a few questions there. Yeah, and just quickly wanted to go to where we have got on the teachers page. About Screencastify, because there was a bit about how can we do voiceovers over students' piece of work. So I tend to use, I love Screencastify for numerous reasons, of being a techie in terms of helping people to guide them through the steps of actually how to create certain tasks, and it's just another bit of support there. So I've got the add-on at the top here, and I'm always a bit worried about using Screencastify because I've got a feeling it's going to kick me out. So it's going to break the internet. Yeah, I'm a bit worried there. So I think it's going to kick your screen sharing out when you do it, Lawrence. But you still stay. We can still hear you and talk to you. Yeah, brilliant. So I'm just going to click on the add-on that I've got at the top installed, called Screencastify. And what I can do is, say for example, if this was a piece of work, I could click on record, and then I should get a countdown, and I would go through and talk about how to use this tool. So I would go, if you would like to add a sticky to the Jamboard, you click on this icon here, and then you might say, hi, might we, click save. And then once I'm ready and I'm finished with that, I would then click stop. Oh, it didn't kick me out. So this is my recording, and I could do the voiceovers. So it's currently on mute here, but I assure you that my voice is there. And you can use this to support your students in a range of ways too as well. And where have you seen it used in secondary schools is actually when you're trying to get a kid to explain their working as well, or for an MFL test as well for speaking and learning. They could do some of their tests on there. And that was really helpful for the MFL department. So that's a real handy tool there. And a real teacher time saver as well. If you think back to, remember the page where I was reviewing Lawrence's work, and I had the option to leave him private comments. I also could have left him comments in the document. And when you write those in full sentences, they don't necessarily come off as how should we say, in with the inflection that you might have intended. Whereas if you're able to just, you've got a copy of the document open, you start your screen recording, and you talk the feedback back to your pupil. It's really quick for you as a teacher to be able to do, and likewise it's a much richer experience for your students as well. So a brilliant option for feedback. Totally agree with that, and that just helps also continue that student-teacher connection as well, because like Colin said, there are some ways when you are trying to get through the stuff quickly, you might type it and it might come across quite harsh, but actually having that time to go through and explain to the students, they do appreciate it. Only thing is they start to expect that's how feedback is going to be given to them. So I'm a bit wary of time, so what I would want to do is just go back to our site, and I'm actually going to put this in the chat, or Sky will put it in the chat for you. There's a link to this site where you'll be able to have access to it. So I'm just going to put that in there. And that should come out to you. And please do go through this. Take your time to go through it. I know it's a lot of information in a space of 1 hour as well. So just before we get to the end I just want to go back to our Jamboard, and we looked at some of the concerns, but what ideas have you taken from today? I'd like to put in the chat that you might go back to your school and use this and use some of these techniques there. It just has to be one idea that might address some of the concerns
that you highlighted today. And if you share them in the chat, we'll get them onto the Jamboard as well. And it's just a nice way to wrap that up as well.
Yeah. And just while that's happening, again, there's some other conversations happening in the chat about other tools that exist there as well. And absolutely, Screencastify is one of a few range of different things that I've certainly used in the past and can rate things like WeVideo to create videos. Loom is an option that's there. And Mote is being talked about as the ability to do just voice recordings, but that's still very powerful and in terms of being put there. So there's a real range of options there, and you just need to dig them. In fact, quite a few of them are linked in the site, I think, Lawrence, aren't they as well?
Yes. So a lot of the tools are linked on the site for you to be able to access. So if I just go down, to teacher. There are some resources as well for you to have a look through. So you've got links there. So we got Screencastify, WeVideo, as mentioned earlier, but also Soundtrap is a good option as well for podcasting and just like changing it up a little bit as well. And what I just want to touch on there, we'll go back to the Jamboard to see if you've got anything that's coming from the chat, is you've got your 10 steps to hybrid learning. And you have the option of making a copy here, or you could go to Keep and put the copy in there, which I know is very powerful and popular with a lot of people using Keep. So I'm just going to go over to keep.google.com. And you will see over here, I've got my hybrid checklist. And what I can do is set a reminder to go through this as well. So I can click on remind, and I might pick next week to do that. Okay, guys, I would like to say a massive thank you for your time this afternoon. Wishing you the best of luck with everything, and you're doing an absolutely amazing job, and I'm just thankful to be able here to support you just a little bit. So thank you, Colin. Thank you for joining me. I don't know if there's anything you would like to say before we wrap up.
No, it's been great, everyone. Thank you. And again, I mentioned at the beginning in terms of my plea, I guess, is that you take away this and think about it. Yeah, hopefully it's going to help and help you in the idea and the context of COVID-19 and what you're really, you're doing an amazing job of dealing with at the moment. But there's so much transformation that can come out of this in the future, and you've got so many great creative ideas. You'll take it much better in a much different way than I can think of it. But hopefully these ideas and strands about how we can mix in-person and at-home learning have really struck a chord with you. And you can see on the screen just below, down there-ish, we have the link to the feedback form, just so you can let us know how we've got, if there's anything else you'd like us to include. And I think it's linked in the chat as well. So thank you very much, everyone. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. We've always wanted to do that.
I know, yeah.
Thank you, guys.